Okay, so for recording purposes, this is me, Dr. Samih, and this is the summer TEFL course hosted by the Arab Open University, and this is week 5 and the second day in week 5. So what is it that we have on the agenda tonight? We're doing the listening part. And the listening, of course, listening is a skill, and it's part of what we call the receptive skills when it comes to teaching English. Spoke about reading as another receptive skill, and let me tell you that the two are very similar in terms of the fact that they are receptive. We receive information, we don't produce them. And there is a great deal of debate going on and fomenting on whether we can consider them receptive or productive. But this is perhaps the subject of another day. What we're focused on is the traditional categorization, which puts listening and reading under the receptive skills category. It's receptive skills this time around too, and we're doing the listening skill. So what did we say about reading? What do you still remember from last time? I'm talking about the receptive skill that we call reading. I need people to be active today. We need to involve everyone. Come to the mic and don't be shy and try to be active. And we have Al Gawhara and we also have Mia. I need other people to join in. I know you guys have information and you're reading and processing the information that we give every time. But don't deny us this right, the right to hear you, to listen to what you have to say. We have Arij. Arij, hi, how are you? Arij, you're raising your hand, right? You're muted, yeah, Arij. Arij, can you unmute yourself? Because you're raising your hand. I don't know whether you have forgotten it raised when I was asking whether you can hear me or not. So drop your hand if you can hear us, if you don't want to participate. Okay. Al Gawhara, go ahead.
Hello, doctor.
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. We talked about the problems that students face in reading, and we also took the solutions, like when we take something, I mean, like an article that is too long, what we should do, or when the vocabulary is complicated and they cannot understand it, we should focus on their level. This is what I remember.
Yeah, you remember a lot. Thank you so much. Al Gawhara, as always. Thank you.
Yes, thank you,
Mia,
doctor.
Mia,
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
I actually remember that the same thing. That we studied the problem of reading and how we can how we can solve these problems and make readings something interesting to students, and why students maybe hate readings. And we also talk that reading is something like input, something like output. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Sir, may I just participate because I have problem with my raising hand icon. It's not working well.
Okay. What's your name?
Bara.
Yeah, Bara. Yeah. Hi.
So we talked about reading as a receptive skill. It involves the ability to interpret and understand written texts. This includes recognizing vocabulary, understanding grammar and sentence structure, and grasping overall meaning and context. Also, we have like the effective reading involves both skimming for general ideas and scanning for specific information and details, which helps in absorbing and practicing textual text content in a really good way.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you, Barak.
Yeah.
It's very strange. I cannot see you. I mean,
Yeah,
what's
there is a problem today, and I'm trying
yeah,
to solve it right now.
yeah, you're doing a good job. Thank you so much. Anybody else about yesterday? I mean, last class the other day. Okay. Okay. This is the strategy for tonight. We're going to start off with some exercises that are meant to kind of refresh your memory about what we have been doing over the weeks, and then we move on to the other receptive skill, which is listening, like we said. So let me share my slides, and we are on our way, inshallah. Okay. This is what we agreed on. We said that this is week 5 and this is the second day in week 5. We've been together for 5 long weeks. I mean, time flies because I could, I mean, I didn't feel them. They kind of ran very quickly. I don't know whether this is a good sign or not. I don't know whether you share the sentiment, the feeling, or it's perhaps a different experience for you. But I enjoyed every single minute of it, really. And you guys are very cooperative, very smart, and everything in between. Let's move on. Okay, so I would like you to look at those items and tell me um, what do you call this? I'm talking about the fact that you have sentences and obviously you have gaps, right? Generically, this is an exercise, right? This is an exercise, and this is
Fill the
something that,
blanks.
yeah. So it's generically we call it an exercise, right? Generically, we can also call it an activity, right? Or a task, and they go together. I mean, we can use them interchangeably. This is something, or the exercise is something that you normally do before a course. So you're trying to identify the level of a student, the kind of issues and problems that he or she has, and then you build on that. So this is a scenario or a typical scenario where we are evaluating a learner in order to determine his or her needs, her language needs to be more specific. So what I want you to do is I would like you to go through the sentences that this person produced, whether it was part of an interview, spoken interview, or whether he wrote something. And this is the result. I would like you to look at these sentences and check where his issues and problems and challenges are. But before we do that, I would like to ask you, of course, you're determining the needs. You're trying to identify the gaps so that you can build classes and lessons around them. So the needs or the challenges or the issues can be what or what or what? What do you think?
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Tawil, I mean, I would like you to listen very carefully. I don't have to rephrase and reformulate what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is that we have a number of sentences, and through them, we're going to determine and identify the needs of the student, the linguistic needs or the language needs. So those needs can be what? Can be what or what or what? We're talking about a language class. He can have issues with what? He can have, problems with what or what or what? We have broad categories that I would like you to refer to. So what are the broad categories that we have spoken about so far? Raise your hand if you know the answer. Okay, so again, I'm talking about broad categories. Don't tell me tenses because tenses goes under something. Okay, don't tell me pronouns because pronouns would go under something, something broader. Okay, yeah. Who
Maybe I
else?
can.
Wait. I need more hands. Okay, يلا. Go ahead, Budur.
I mean, they maybe in grammar, their vocabulary and
Yeah, it can be grammar.
their skills.
It can be vocabulary or lexis. Yeah. Okay. Did you want to say this, Mia, or something else?
Yeah, the same thing.
Okay, very good. So those are the broad categories that we're working within. You can also add phonology or pronunciation because it's also a broad category that we haven't touched upon. Okay. So depending on what the student produces, what he or she says or writes, we are going to say that he has issues with grammar, that he has issues with lexis, or that he has issues with pronunciation. So I would like you now to tell me which is which. I'll give you a couple of minutes to go through the sentences that he or she produced, and I would like you to tell me whether it's going to be lexis, whether it's going to be grammar or phonology, pronunciation, in other words. Yeah, I'll give you a couple of minutes. Okay, can we talk about them? So where do you think number one should go? Okay, if I can see hands. Mia?
I think sometimes there is a problem in the link in the vocabulary in some sentences and in the grammar in other sentences. For example, the
No,
first sentence.
listen. We're doing one at a time. So let's do number one.
I think there's a problem with the grammar because there's something wrong with from high years of primary school.
So what do you think? Do you think high has to do more with grammar or lexis?
I think with grammar because there's
Can you
better
rephrase
there's
it? Can you rephrase it? Do you understand what he or she means?
I think maybe she wanna said that, or he wanna said that he that there's a lot of years, for example, but he
Yeah,
used
some. Mm,
the wrong word.
yeah, can be
Yeah,
advanced years of primary school. I can see it as perhaps more lexical than grammatical. We'll talk about that in a minute. Thank you. Let's move to the second one. And the second one is obviously very clear. Dina. Hi, Dina. How are you?
Hello, doctor.
Long
It's
time no
I think
see.
yeah, I had problems with my mic. I finally fixed it.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, I think it's a grammatical mistake. I
Okay.
satisfied. It's supposed to be I am satisfied.
Absolutely. Thank you. This is a grammar error. Okay, let's move to number 3. Okay. Budur?
Yes, doctor. I'm
Yeah.
not pretty sure, but maybe phonology.
Yeah, phonology or pronunciation. Obviously, it's a phrase where you have the word Korean and the word teacher. There is obviously nothing wrong with the spelling or anything. So the only thing left
Yes.
may be how he
Which, yeah.
pronounces the word Korean, right? Okay.
Yes.
Perhaps it has to do with the stress, where the stress is. Okay. Thank you,
Yes,
Budur.
exactly.
Thank you so much. Let's move to D. Raise your hand if you would like to do D for us. Shamsa, go ahead.
Hi, doctor.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, doctor. They got the city view lexical.
Yeah, it can be a lexical problem where, and obviously the one who sets the exercise not happy about the expression. Perhaps then there are more
Express.
advanced expressions. Okay, when you talk about the city and its views. Thank you so much, Shamsa.
Thank
Let's
you, doctor.
move. You're welcome. Let's move on. Raise your hand if you would like to participate. Aya, hi, Aya, how are you?
Hello, doctor. I'm good. How about you?
Alhamdulillah. Go ahead, yeah.
I think A could be both a lexical and a grammatical mistake.
Okay, so if it's grammar that we are having here, what kind of grammar? What's the problem?
It's not the correct grammar if we're going to talk about the future.
So what are you going to say if you're going to talk about the future?
I could rephrase it and say, maybe I will require the ability to speak English.
You're complicating things.
I did complicate.
Okay.
In the future, I will speak English.
Yeah, it can be as simple as this. Yeah. So it's both, yeah, Lexis and also grammar, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's move on. Can we have somebody for F? My entrance point was not good as Mia.
I think maybe it should be a grammatical mistake, maybe.
Yeah, okay. So if you're going to correct it, what are you going to say?
Sorry, but the screen is not clear for me.
How did you answer it if it's not very clear to you or for you?
No, no, it's good now for me.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So I I don't know the exactly correct, but there's something wrong, I think, in the grammar.
Okay, okay. So we'll talk about it in a minute. Thank you. Let's move on. G. Shamsa.
Yes, doctor. I
Yeah, go
like
ahead.
antique things collection lexical.
You mean the word antique is not to you like you don't like the word antique. It's not used, right? So if you're going to change it, what are you going to use? whatever he means, obviously. Okay, can we have somebody reformulating it? When you correct a student of yours, you either give the sentence with the correction. Sometimes you rephrase the answer, and this is called reformulating. So I would like somebody to reformulate G for us. Budur, because you're raising your hand. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was thinking just how to formulate. I like antique things. It's when you read, it's not incorrect.
We're doing G,
So
right?
yes.
Okay. Can you reformulate it? You rephrase it? Where we have established, I mean, Shamsa and I established the fact that this is Alexa's problem. You happen to agree with us, right?
Actually, I'm not sure. The maybe we can formulate the word things, but I don't know. What comes to my mind, it's like stuff, or um.
Yeah, obviously we need a
It,
context. It depends on the context.
exactly.
The
Yes.
content, yeah, the context is missing. Okay, but
Exactly.
perhaps the word antique is not very.
May I
Um,
try, sir?
okay, go ahead.
Because I can't raise my hand, that's why.
That's fine.
Yeah, I would love to delete the word things by itself. Why? Because, in my opinion, the word antique is just really conveys the idea of objects.
Hmm.
So I would
So
like to be like, I like antiques.
I like antiques, or like also Budur suggested something interesting, which I mean, if you use the word stuff,
Yeah.
I like antique stuff. Yeah, that's good. Ty, thank you so much. Let's move to H. What's the problem with H? Razan, go ahead.
I think it's a grammatical mistake.
Okay. So can you reformulate it?
We can say it's just for the future because
Uh,
the pronoun is missing.
you mean the article, the definite article that is missing?
Yes.
Yes. So it's a
I
grammar issue. Yes, I
yes.
agree. Thank you. Thank you. Let's move to I. Okay. Mia,
Can we say it's a grammatical mistake because it's better to say
to say.
I prefer it's
Let me
sorry
correct you.
to say
Okay.
I'm sorry
Said. Okay.
because
Yeah. Yes.
it's better to say I prefer to talk with classmates.
The two are fine, whether you're going to say to talk or talking. Now, obviously, this is not the problem that we have, but I agree it's a grammar problem that we have.
Okay.
So let's check. Noor is okay. So Noor is apologizing today. That's fine. Okay, let's move. So obviously, it's the problem is with classmate. It should be classmates, right? Which is a grammar issue, right? Let's move to the last one, J. J. Anyone other than Mia? Razan?
Hello. The last
Yeah.
one, I think it's a pronunciation problem, phonological problem.
Yes, because we have those poses, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. Very good. Those poses are indication that we have what kind of problem? If you have to choose between accuracy and fluency.
Fluency.
Yeah, fluency. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Okay. Let's look here. I'll give you a minute to look at them. Let me make it even big.
Doctor, why the first one is lexical issue?
What?
Why the first one is a lexical issue?
I'll tell you in a minute. I'll give you the answer key in a minute. Or the explanation, rather. Clarification. Okay. Okay. So judging from the sentences, so what do you think? If we have this range of levels that we agreed on, remember the other day, from A1 until C2, where do you think we should put or place the student? I'll give you a minute to think about it. Look at the sentences and look at the errors, and I would like you to come up with a conclusion. Tell me where we should place the student. Again, the range is we're starting with A1 and ending with C2. You guys have a minute to tell me where we should place the student. I made up my mind already, but I'm giving you your minute. Well, let's talk about it. Where do you think we should place this student? Raise your hands. This is pure assessment. It's going to be your view or your opinion. So there is obviously nothing wrong or right about it. Feel free to give us what you think. That's why I need to see so many hands. Only 2 people or 3 perhaps, because I can see. Okay, Razan,
Maybe A2 or B1.
you mean he is between A2 and B1?
Yes.
He is more of a what? Of an A2 or more of a B1 kind of guy? What do you think?
Maybe an A2 because there is different kinds of mistakes.
Mm.
Some mistakes are grammatical, some mistakes are lexical, some mistakes are related to phonology.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
That's why it's a little bit tricky. You cannot put a high level.
Mm. Okay. Mia?
I think they are B1 because they can create, a clear sentences, okay, even though they have some mistakes, okay, but they are good, not bad. They can be in the middle, yani B1 maybe.
Okay. Good. Good assessment. Bara?
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. He is B1. He can, make sentences, but we have a lot of mistakes. He wants to work more, to be honest.
Okay. I think we all share the sentiment that he or she is between A2 and B1, and I quite agree that he can be a B1 kind of guy because of the fact that, like Maya said, and like Barat said, he can structure sentences, even though there are, of course, issues and mistakes, but he can still survive in English. He can speak, right? And the sentences are obviously not monosyllabic. He doesn't simply answer saying yes or no or gives you a phrase or he makes complete sentences. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Okay, somebody was asking me about the reasons why at times it's lexis and at other times it's grammar. I'll give you the answer key very quickly before we move on to something else. I would like you to read and check. I'll give you a couple of minutes for that. Okay, clear, everyone? Yeah, let's move on. Okay, this is also perhaps a reflection on what we have been doing over the weeks. So, the name of this exercise is Reflection and Feedback on Teaching. So, these are classroom teaching scenarios, and I would like you to read the scenarios and tell me what you're going to do. Obviously, they are more into classroom management issues and stuff. Remember what we said about classroom management, spoke about giving clear instructions, about establishing rapport, about keeping the pace and not rushing yourself or the students. So I would like you to look at the issues and first of all identify the issue. Tell me what the classroom issue or problem or challenge is, and then tell me what you think we should do to address the issue and to overcome the problem. I'll give you 3 minutes for that because I would like you to read every and each scenario very carefully. You guys have 3 minutes from now. Okay, can we talk about them? And I'd like to see as many hands as we possibly can. Okay, Razan.
Maybe if the normal explanation or the normal way of saying the directions is not clear for them, I can try to visualize something.
You mean
Or
let's
maybe
identify the issue. So the issue, if I give you a number of, remember what we said about classroom management, the classroom management areas. Do you still remember them? Razan, do you understand my question?
yes, yes,
Do you
yes,
still remember any of the 4 or 5 classroom management areas that we spoke about at one point?
yes. Using clear language.
Yeah, but
Don't
clear
tell what you can
instructions.
show.
Okay.
Uh, don't tell what you can show. Avoid
Mm-hmm.
indirect questions. Avoid
Mm-hmm.
using the question of "Do you understand?"
Mm-hmm. It's very good. Okay. Can somebody else share with us those 4 classroom management areas, if you still remember them, 4 or 5? Okay. Maya, do you know those 4 or 5 areas?
Yeah, maybe we should have a clear language or clear language and knowledge and a good relationship with the students and management
No.
of the class.
No. Classroom management areas are obviously different from relationship with the students. Shamsa. So one of them would be
Yes.
giving clear instructions, like you said. What else? What are the other areas when it comes to classroom management, Shams?
Uh, yes, Doctor. Classroom management areas are establish report
Establishing
relationship.
establishing rapport.
understanding, monitoring,
Monitoring,
correct feedback,
giving feedback, yes. Knowing how to give feedback,
giving
yes.
structure by the clear way.
Yeah, giving clear instructions, yes. Okay, these are the areas that we're talking about. Okay, so number one has to do with, like we said, with classroom management. Okay, so what's the problem? Razan, let's go back to Razan because she was talking about the first one. So what was the problem in the first one, Razan?
They didn't understand the activity. The students
Yes.
didn't.
So, okay, what could be the reason for that? Why didn't they
Maybe
understand?
maybe the teacher couldn't get their attention properly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she or he explains the question in very using very long
Yeah,
vocabulary.
which means that
Didn't
he or
use a
she
simple
is
question.
he is not giving clear instructions.
Yes,
And of course, under clear instructions, you would have showing, giving an example, asking, asking instruction, checking questions, right? Okay, so what do you think? If you were in this teacher's shoes, what would you do?
maybe I will show an example.
Okay, so you're going to give an example. So you're going to bring them back, perhaps, and perhaps repeat the instructions. And you're going to be more clear with your instructions, giving examples, checking whether they understood the instructions or not, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Let's move to the second scenario, and I would like somebody to come to the mic and tell us about the second scenario. What's the problem with the second scenario? And then he or she can offer us solutions. Okay, Al-Gawara.
Yes, the problem is the relationship with the students. There is a distance between the teacher and the students. I
What do we
think
call that? This is
the rapport.
it's rapport building or establishing.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yes.
I think the teacher should try to memorize their names,
Mm-hmm.
and also the teacher could use an ice break activities
Mm-hmm.
like playing something or asking them questions in order to get to know them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Perhaps if you're
that's it.
sometimes if you're natural, sometimes you're tense in
Yes,
class, you're nervous, and you communicate this nervousness to your students. Perhaps
yes,
if you're less nervous, perhaps if you're well prepared, and there isn't much hesitance in what you're saying, they trust you. I think this can help, right?
yes, sure, yes.
Okay. Let's move to the third scenario. What's the problem with the third one? I'm not happy today because not so many people are participating, which is kind of frustrating a little bit. Um, let's have Budur.
Here the teacher is want to um they want to
What's the problem?
uh, finish the plan. The problem is that they're rushing the students to do tasks and to finish the class in a timely manner, but he's just rushing them and not giving them time to understand. Or
Mm. So what's your solution for that?
I would say that the teacher would have to prepare well. First of all, they have to revise their plan, their lesson plan, and just not trying to rush everything. They need to.
And there is this idea that they feel bored, right? Because obviously
Yes,
you're not doing what. Yeah, I mean it's not all work. There should be some play in the middle, right?
yes, exactly.
Refreshment. I mean, refreshment can recreation can be recreational
Yes,
exercises and activities, right?
like an icebreaker or just something that could interest the students. Maybe like
Yes. Yeah.
a story, or
Yes, that's
they would
interesting.
be engaged also.
Yes. Something unexpected. Normally, if they can read what you're going to do next, they would feel some kind of they're going to feel bored. But if they are not expecting, or perhaps if they know that at one point in the class there is going to be a surprise, they will be excited about it, waiting eagerly for this to happen. So don't deny them that, right?
Yes, most of them.
Let's read. I would like you to read this, and that would answer this part. I would like you to read it very thoroughly and very carefully. I'll give you 4 minutes for that. Okay. So is it clear, everyone? I mean, the steps that you should use in order to rectify the situation. Obviously, we have a problem or a challenge, a classroom challenge, and we're trying to overcome it. Remember what the situation was? Number one, you give the students an activity, but they don't understand what you want them to do. What can you do about it? Remember, if we're going to talk about them in terms of steps 1, 2, and 3, I would like somebody to come to the mic and share with us about the first scenario. You gave an activity, but your students don't understand what you want them to do. So give me 1, 2, 3 from whatever you're seeing in front of your eyes. You're going to only read, but tell me 1, 2, 3, and so on.
You want me teachers to read or to give you the answer?
I mean, give me the answers, but use numbers. Use 1, 2, 3. Can you do that, Yalla? For number 1.
Okay, maybe at the beginning we can speak clearly to them, and
I would
ask
like you
them
to
some.
read. I would like you to read, not rephrase or reformulate. Just read, but put them in numbers.
Okay.
So tell me number 1 is this and that. Yeah.
The first one would the problem is with عفواً. This probably because your instructions were not clear. So firstly, speak
Mm-hmm.
clearly.
Before
Secondly,
speaking,
show them
you're
what.
going to try again. You're going to try again. This is number
Try
1.
again.
Try again. Okay.
Try again.
Mm-hmm.
Speak clearly. This is
Mm-hmm.
the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Show them what you want them to do,
Mm-hmm.
and then ask them questions to check they've understood. There's some example. Can you use the past simple here? And then the next step is avoid asking do you understood, as
You
students will
understand?
rarely.
Do you avoid asking, do you
Sorry,
understand?
sorry. Do you
Mm-hmm.
understand, as students will rarely admit to this, and then if they just say yes, it gives you no indication that they do understand. That's what you said, doctor, before. If you said just yes, so that doesn't mean that they understand. If the students have already started to active, and you see them um, uh, monitoring that they are unclear what to do, you might uh,
Want
pause
to
the class and
pause the class and
pause.
give an exam. Yeah, show them.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's move to the second scenario. Your tutor's feedback says that you need to build rapport with your students and yourself, and you yourself feel that there is a certain gap or distance between you and the class. How can you deal with this? Can you give me 1, 2, 3, anyone and everyone? Okay, Budur, go ahead.
Okay. First one is that you must do, remember to be careful, to be neutral, and to be
Natural.
yourself with the students.
Mhm.
Two would be to listen to the student and respond to what they say, to show you are interested in them. And three would be to watch your facial expressions and try not to show your worries about the lesson.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, and the third scenario, you want your lessons to go at the right pace so that students are engaged and not bored. But you know that you often end up rushing the students to get through the lesson on time. How can you avoid this? And we have somebody saying 1, 2, 3. Reading, I would like you to only read, which is obviously not asking too much. Can I see? Yeah, Dina, go ahead.
You give the students an activity, but they do not understand what you want them to do. What can you do about it?
Where are we? Now we are in 3 يا دينا.
So sorry, doctor.
No.
You want your lessons to go to the right pace so that students are engaged and not bored. But you know that you often end up rushing the students to get through the lesson on time. How can you avoid this?
Yeah.
Go at the student's pace.
This is number one. Number one, go at the student's pace. Yeah. Number two.
Give the time they need to do a task, not the time you need them to take. Varying the pace during a lesson also helps. For example, by giving students a time limit or including a more dynamic stage in which students are required to move around the room and mingle with classmates to do a task.
Yeah, okay, nice. Thank you so much. Let's move on. Okay, I would like us to read this statement and tell me whether we agree or not. Read it very carefully. This is obviously inspired by what we have been saying today about student engagement and involvement. Read it and tell me whether you agree with the statement or not. So, two sides to the story, as you can see, the teacher and the student. So, who are we empowering here? Are we empowering the student or the teacher? Raise your hand. Barak.
The students, because I think regarding the English language, and English language is based on the practicing. So if I was a teacher, I would love to see them participate to practice the language.
So the class is not for you, obviously. You're not there in order to flex your muscles on them and use and recycle expressions that you have memorized, right?
Yeah,
the class, yeah, they have as much right in the class as you do, right? As a teacher, perhaps they have more, or they should have more powers and more privileges, being the students and the learners, right?
Yeah, let them express their opinions. Let us exchange our information, our ideas. It should be amazing.
Yeah. So and also it's not about suppressing their opinions, because obviously it's not about opinions. It's about them practicing the language.
Yeah.
Right? You give them opportunities so that they can talk. And of course, they cannot talk if you are in this plenary kind of setup where you are in front and you're giving everything. This is
like, imagine the teacher just talking and explaining the lesson.
Yeah, this is what we warn teachers against, the idea that they should go in pairs and groups so that they can exercise and can practice the language on their own together.
Lovely.
Okay. Okay. Budur is raising her hand. Go ahead.
I just wanted to almost say the same thing that my colleague said. I mean, as a teacher, your whole focus should be on the student, to give them as much chances and opportunities to, yes, exactly, to try and learn for themselves, also by themselves. You just need to guide them to the in the right direction, and just space and time uh, to uh, to reach their goals.
Mm. Okay, yeah.
Actually, I agree with this sentence because there's nothing wrong with it. The students need to practice in English, and we need to prepare some activities to them, and teachers should watch them if they what should say and what shouldn't say, and if they use the language in the correct way or not. So there's nothing wrong with the sentence, I think.
What we're after here is a learner-centered class where the student is at the center or at the core of the process. You, as a teacher, shouldn't be monopolizing the talk by perhaps giving excessive instructions, by talking too much, by explaining. Remember what we said about explaining and the fact that we
Yeah.
shouldn't be using the word explaining anymore, because what you should be doing in class is not explaining, it's clarifying. So your TTT should be cut to an absolute minimum. If you still remember, TTT means teacher talking time. Okay, so this is very important. And then we, at one point, we spoke. Yes, yes.
Can I share?
Um,
Encourage students to engage it with other, and give them space of freedom to express and to understand and express about their opinion, because students are center of the change process.
yes, let me just remind everyone that we're not talking about opinion sharing. I'm not saying that the teacher is a dictatorial kind of guy. What I'm trying to say is that the teacher should kind of um, share share the responsibilities in class, if you like. He or she shouldn't be talking all the time, shouldn't be explaining and over explaining. Because obviously, explaining and over explaining means that you student will not have time to speak, to practice the language. Okay, so how can you overcome this idea of over explaining and having this high teacher or teacher talking time? It's through the activities that you create, in which you create opportunities for the students to speak and to talk and use the language together. Okay, so like I said, in the final analysis, what we're trying to do is to create a learner-centered class, not a teacher-centered class. Let's move on. At one point, we also spoke about errors and the fact that it's very natural that students make errors. And this is part and parcel of the whole thing, and this is how they learn, right? So making and committing errors happens when they take risks, when they venture into this vast terrain and territory that we call language. Okay, so you're trying to encourage them to take risks or to get rid of their inhibitions about the language. And when they do that, of course, they are going to falter, they are going to make errors. Okay, so now we need to know how we're going to react to those errors. Are you going to be angry with them because perhaps you have explained something or clarified something and you thought that you did this very well and now they are frustrating you? Are you going to be patient with them? Are you going to correct them immediately? Are you going to wait? Are you going to think of whether the error they made is relevant to the aims of the lesson or not? Are you going to put or to think of those considerations. Remember what we said about errors and how we react to them. How do we react to errors? Remember, we had a number of options. Still remember those options? Responding to errors, everyone? I think there were four.
Yes, yes.
Come to the mic and tell me about them. Can I see hands?
Can I say one of them?
Yes, because you love them so much, Ya Al, right? You love this.
Yes.
You love this part of the lesson. I'm going to create a whole
Yes.
course for that, and I would like you to join us, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you, doctor.
And you think of a title for the course. How about that? Because
Okay.
you're
Okay.
also good
Thank
with
you.
titles.
Yes. Thank you, doctor.
Yeah, give us one. Remember those responses
Yeah,
to
we could make a whole lesson of it. We could not address the issue within the same class, maybe the other next class,
yeah, this is
and
an
to get
option. Okay, this is
yes,
one of the options, and you wanted to say
yes,
one, but let's keep
yes,
the answer to one. Okay, so then she's obviously starting from the end. It's about creating a whole class or scheduling a whole class around the error, and we're going to know why and when we can do that. Maya, give us another response to errors.
Can I add that correct this mistake? Let them finish, then correct their mistakes. Can
Excuse
I add
me?
it?
I don't know what you're saying.
Can I add that I should let them finish what they want to say and what they want to say, and then I can correct their mistake.
Yeah, I mean that's you're going to momentarily ignore the error, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. This is also another option. Again, we'll tell why and how and what and yeah, why you will have to go with the error, ignoring it momentarily. Yeah. What else? Or when else? Or what are the other options? Shamsa.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah.
Deal with mistakes normally because mistakes are the part of lesson.
Yeah, this is not, no.
We
This is not. Yeah, we said that this is the overall option, and I'm talking about the different options that we have. If I decide to think of the error, I can mentally ignore it. I can schedule another class for it, like Al Gawara said. Okay, I'm talking about the other two options that we have. Thank you, thank you, Shamsa. Can we have the other
yes,
two, everyone? You still remember them? Okay, so let me show them to you. And so these are the options that we have responding to errors. So the teacher has to make a choice about how to respond to students' errors. The teacher can do one of the following: ignore the error, correct the error immediately, note down the error and correct it at a later stage, or note down the error and plan a lesson which focuses on this error. So these are the four options, and obviously there is a difference between and among them, and it depends on what kind of error it is and whether the error is relevant to the plan of the lesson, whether it's part of the it's going to kind of hamper and compromise the aims that you're setting for yourself. Lots of things come into play when it comes to responding to errors, as you know. So now I would like you to read whatever is written under every and each option, ignoring the error. When do we do that? Correcting the error immediately. When we do that, note down the error and correct it at a later stage. When note down the error and plan a lesson which focuses on this error. When. I'll give you a couple of minutes for that. Go ahead. Okay. So when do we momentarily ignore the error? Shamsa, can I ask you to drop your hand? One of the options on the table would be to ignore the error. When? Budur, go ahead.
When it's not relevant or isn't the focus of the lesson, or it's difficult for the students to understand.
Yeah, because it's going
That
to take time,
a lot of
and
time.
obviously
Yes,
this is not the focus of the lesson. So it's going to take you
exactly.
somewhere else, right? And it's going to
Definitely, yes.
obviously divert the attention of the other students,
But the
right?
focus of the original
Yeah.
lesson,
So you
yes.
have a focus that you should be all the time setting your eyes on. Nothing should
Exactly.
divert your attention away, even if you have errors. It's not that you're going to ignore them forever or permanently. You're going to leave them in the interest of the other more important items in the list, right?
Definitely, yes.
Okay, let's move to the second one. Correct the error immediately. When do we have to correct the error immediately as given here? Maya,
Maybe
not
if this if
maybe.
this is
If you read this,
yeah.
there is no maybe about it.
Okay. Well, if this is something useful to the students and the students can correct this mistake quickly, as you, doctor, when I said I want to said you correct me and said I want to say so something like that. If I make a mistake and correcting this mistake quickly is something useful for me, so I should correct it to the student.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. So if it's relevant to the lesson and if it is useful to the student. Thank you so much, Mia. How about the third one? Note down the error and correct it at a later stage. Can we have somebody else? Nobody else. Somebody else other than Mia and Budur. Mhm. No one. Okay, Mia, you're raising your hand.
Maybe or well, if I don't have enough time to correct this mistake right now, and we have just limited time, so I can correct this mistake in the next class.
Yeah,
Maybe.
and also you can collect the students' errors and you can perhaps focus on them some other time, right?
Yes.
And finally, note down the error and plan a lesson which focuses on this error. Obviously, this happens when you see that the error is very prevalent among students. Lots of students are making the same mistake. So it merits an entire lesson or class around it. Let's move on. So these are things that you need to consider before you decide to either correct or not correct an error. And I would like you to go through them very quickly. Below are key questions for teachers to ask when deciding whether or not to correct an error. Give you a couple of minutes for that. This is obviously a rephrasing of what we've been saying about errors and when to interfere and correct them and when to delay them and everything in between. I think we're clear on those things, right? So let's move on. Okay, so these are also questions that you need to ask yourself before you decide on whether to correct or not to correct momentarily. Read the questions very carefully. Again, you should be asking yourself these questions before you decide whether to correct them. One of the questions is the focus on the language or the message? A second question would be, will the correction affect the student's motivation? Is it useful for the whole class? Will it affect the main aim of the lesson? Does the correction concern something the class has recently learned? Is the correction above the level of the class? So you need to think of these questions. And if you can answer them rightly and correctly, I think you are on your way towards deciding whether to correct or not to momentarily correct. Let's move on. And here we have a number of scenarios, and I would like you to take into consideration what we have been talking about corrections and when not to correct. And I would like you to read the scenario and tell me whether you would correct the student immediately or not, and you tell us why or why not. We have 6 scenarios, and this is scenario number 1. Read it, and then we talk about it. Read the scenario and tell me whether you would correct the student immediately or not, and why not. Give you a minute to read. What do you think? A student arrives late to class. The student is confident and a good communicator. When she arrives, she says, "Sorry to be late," with a big grin on her face. In the previous lesson, you looked at polite language, including how to apologize for being late. Okay, would you correct the student immediately? What's wrong with the expression, "sorry to be late"? What's wrong with that? What should she have said. Yeah, Dina, what do you think? What's wrong with the expression "sorry to be late"?
Um,
You should
she
have.
should say sorry for being late
Very
because
good.
it already happened and ended.
Yes. Okay. Fine. What do you think? If you are her teacher, Dina, are you going to correct her
Um,
immediately?
okay, okay. It depends on multiple principles. For example, it depends on my students. If I correct her, if they're gonna laugh at her, I'm not gonna correct her immediately. I will take her to the side and I will
Mm.
correct her by herself. If they're
Okay.
polite and
Mm.
they're willing to also like learn from this mistake, I will correct her immediately.
Do you think that saying good morning or sorry for being late is perhaps is relevant to what you're doing in class at the moment? Perhaps you're doing something else. The focus of the lesson is obviously not on good morning and good afternoon, or
Yeah.
perhaps apologizing. Remember, this was perhaps the focus in the previous class.
Yeah, but it's still part of the language. If I fix her now,
So
she's not
if
going to
if
make this mistake again in the future when
well,
she use it
if
outside.
everything is part of the language, but you have priorities, and you need to set your priorities right, Edina. If you're going to correct every single mistake they utter, obviously, you will not finish anything, right?
Yeah,
Remember,
but
you have
this that's a
priorities.
phrase they will use like let's say in a daily basis. They're going to use it
Yeah,
more often, so they need to
yeah,
know the right way to
perhaps.
say it.
Yeah, but you shouldn't be. Remember that if you focus on this, you're going to leave something else, which is obviously distracting for the rest of the students who know perhaps how to say it, right? Let's
Mm.
have somebody else talk about it. Basma, what do you think?
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
As a teacher, I think no, I will not correct her immediately. I will not actually, as a teacher, I want to establish a rapport with my students. So I will not correct her immediately and I will not let her feel embarrassed. Maybe next time, for example, I can be a little bit late for my lesson or for my class, and I can say sorry for being late
Excellent.
without,
That's a very indirect way of saying it. Yeah, I like
yeah,
this. Mm. Of
yes,
correcting.
this
You're
is my,
correcting, but
yeah,
in a
in
very indirect way. It is.
exact,
I like that.
yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Mia,
Actually, I agree with Basma that we shouldn't correct her immediately because at the beginning it's not a big mistake, okay? And also we have another class, so we should focusing about what we are doing right now. And also, I should respect her feelings. She's trying to be polite, so I can't. That will be so harsh for her. And maybe in another class, maybe in the next class, I can correct this mistake, but not. I will not correct her quick immediately at the same class. Maybe in the next class or another class.
okay. Let's move to the second scenario. I would like you to read this scenario and tell me what you're going to do. Read it. Okay, you read the scenario. You're not asking yourself this question. Think of these questions. Okay. Okay, so ask yourself about the aim. Ask yourself about the relevance of the correction, right? Ask yourself whether that would help the student or not. Okay, Bara?
Yes, I will help her. Why? Because since many students
And
do not like to stand. Yeah,
I'm sorry, I hate to cut you off, yeah,
yeah,
Bara.
yeah. Tell me.
Um, I don't quite understand. Is helping correcting, or perhaps helping is something else,
Not correcting, but I will
right?
try to give some examples that will help her to express her
Mm-hmm.
feelings about the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many students.
But obviously, you're not correcting
Yeah,
because why? Why, Bara? We're not correcting in this example or in this
because
case.
she didn't commit any mistake. We are
No, I'm not. I'm
exchanging
not.
ideas.
I'm not talking about the student. I'm talking about the group. The group are assigned to obviously talk, right,
Yeah,
about the internet and their feelings about the internet, right? And obviously, it's speaking. It's a speaking activity. And what's the aim? Do you still remember what the aim was, yeah, Bara?
to express their feelings about the internet.
Yes. And when you express your feelings about something, are you after accuracy or fluency? Do I want you to speak out, or do I want you to be very particular about every single word you're saying?
To speak out.
Speak out. This is
Yeah,
fluency, right? So if
yeah.
I stop you in order to correct you, is that the right thing to do?
No,
No, absolutely not.
absolutely.
Okay, okay, Razan, go out and come back, no problem. Dina, you're raising your hand. Okay, perhaps you forgot that it's raised already. Budur.
Uh, in this case, of course, I'm gonna help the student. They're obviously working in groups, and it's my duty to go around and monitor the students. So if a student asks for my help, of course, I'm gonna help them
Mm,
to express how they feel about the aim.
mm.
I
But
mean,
obviously, this is not correcting, right? You're
that's
helping.
not yes. From what I understood now, at the situation, there's no correct answer. It's just that the students want to express their feelings, um, their views. So I'm not gonna say, well, what you said is wrong, and this is not how you're supposed to feel. I'm just
Yes.
gonna help them. It's help, not corrections,
Yeah, because your aim is obviously fluency. You want them to speak no matter what, right?
and not act. If I corrected them, they might be, they
Th-
might
th-
feel dejected, and not
yeah,
actually express
they are
what they
going to
want to say.
lose. They call it. I mean, there is an expression for it. They lose face,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Al Gawhara, you wanted to say something.
Yes, I think this is also related to the one to the things that we talk about the roles of the teacher. I mean, in this
Mm.
case, it would be like resource and
Resource.
prompter.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, just and that is why it's not being the assessor. Here we are not correcting, but helping. I just
Yeah,
want to
I
connect this
agree.
point with the previous thing that we took.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. Let's move to the third scenario because we have so many. Let's read this scenario out on our own, of course, and then see whether we're going to correct immediately or not. Okay, let's have your take on that. Aya?
Personally, I wouldn't correct the student because we're talking about grammar.
Yeah, can you clarify? I mean, can you perhaps rephrase the situation?
Rephrase the situation. Okay, so we're discussing grammar,
Yes.
but the student made a pronunciation mistake.
Uh-huh.
Maybe they pronounced a word wrong or they said a sentence wrong.
Obviously, this is not a sin against the Holy Spirit, right?
Of course not.
Okay.
That's why I don't like to correct pronunciation mistakes. What I would do instead is maybe I would use the word they pronounced wrong in an example regarding the grammar that we taught.
Yeah, perhaps you need to reformulate the word. You echo the student. Echo, you may want to say the same sentence perhaps, and in the middle you have the wrong word, and of course correct it. And this way you don't need to have a whole let's stop here and you make a career out of it, right?
Yes, without even pointing the mistake. They don't need
Not
to know.
no, without even without scandalizing the student for it, obviously, right?
Yes.
So, because, like you said very rightly, Aya, the focus is grammar. You're taking them, if you stop and you make a big deal out of it, you're taking them away from your focus. You're obviously ruining everything that you have been building for an hour or perhaps more, right?
Yes, correct.
Thank you, Aya. Thank you
This
so
might
much.
confuse the students anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't agree more. Mia or Mia?
Actually, at the beginning, I thought that I should correct the mistake because we are already in an English class, even though that we are studying grammar, but pronunciation is a part of the language, okay, like the
Mhm.
grammar. So, and also we have the time to correct this mistake, okay.
Obviously,
So that,
this is a very important factor. We don't have time because
yeah.
the time left is not big and they have to practice. This is very important. And I thank you very much for raising this up. The idea that your language class is not successful unless there is a practice element in it. Make no mistake about it. If they don't practice, you haven't done anything. Your class is a
Yes. So
failure. Yeah. So
I thought that for
if you have to choose between correcting something and letting them practice something, of course you would go wholeheartedly for practicing.
I think
Okay.
when I listen to the opinion of Faya, so I agree with her that I should ignore this mistake and just do the exercise, and after that maybe I can correct this mistake in another
Mm.
way.
Yes. Thank
So
you.
yeah.
Basma. Thank you. Thank you, Mia. Basma, very quickly.
doctor. Actually, pronunciation mistakes, I prefer to not pass through it. But it depends on situation, on the time, on. But even if I want to correct, I will correct it very fast with a smiley method. With
I said
it's
you don't have to correct it. All you need to do is to reformulate it, reformulate or echo it
exact,
in a correct way. You say
exact.
the same sentence, but in a correct way, and that would be it. You don't
Yeah,
have to stop the student, tell him or her that this is a mistake. I should say
yeah,
this.
yeah,
No,
exactly.
it wouldn't require
Yeah.
any of that. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, but even in the grammar lesson, I prefer to not pass them the pronunciation mistakes.
Yeah, but again, you're losing your focus. At the risk of losing your focus.
It's very fast, as you said. I will just it's very fast.
Reformulated. Mm.
Reformulated, yes.
Let's move on. 4. Read the scenario number 4. Okay. So what's the main feature of the class? The class is what and what and what. What kind of students do we have? You need to consider these things, right? Budur.
Okay, the students seem to it's an elementary class, and it seems like that class is weak. There are many introverted students
What do you mean? Can you explain what introverted
that
means?
they
Shy.
don't express themselves.
You
Yes,
mean
very
shy?
shy. They don't interact
Yes.
with this with maybe their classmates or the teacher. So
Mm. So
and
what do you
when one of
think?
them
Should you interfere and correct?
definitely not. It's
Mm.
for a class like that, it's an opportunity, a golden opportunity even for
Alhamdulillah, they speak,
yes,
right? Alhamdulillah, they
exactly.
speak, right?
You
Would you
can just
stop them? Yes,
you can't
absolutely.
obnoxiously say, well, it's if I was in America, I will. If I was rich, I will. So it's just we'll leave them maybe like corrected in another lesson. Um, but in
Or,
this case, I'll to
or,
any
can you echo can you say it in a more corrected way and that's it?
uh,
You
you mean
read it.
like
If they get the correction right, that's
yeah,
fine. If they don't, you're going to leave it to some other time, right?
exactly. But the main thing is not point out exactly this mistake. So just leave
Yes.
them be discuss among themselves.
You don't
Yes,
disrupt the flow of the class because
definitely.
alhamdulillah
That's
at long last
fine.
they are going out of their shells, right?
Exactly, yes, which is amazing.
Yes. Basmi?
Yes, doctor. Here in this situation, we have many elements that we should take care of it. They are weak element and introvert. So
Hmm.
once he or she talks, Absolutely, I will not. I
Interfere.
will not correct or interrupt. Yeah, because here I will let him. I will shock her. I will let him feel shocked that he will
Uh,
not. He will not talk again. So
I
no, I
promise
prefer
you.
even.
I promise you, they wouldn't. They wouldn't talk
Yes,
again.
yes.
Yes, yes,
No, of course, I see that many native speakers, even native speakers, they have problems with grammar. Not all, not also the learners, the speaker who learn English. Even the native
yes,
speakers, they have problem with grammar.
yes. They have problems with everything. I promise you.
Yeah. Yes.
Shamsa, you've been wanting to say something for so long. Yeah, go ahead, Shamsa.
Yes, doctor. I will not
Yes.
correct my in perspective. I will not correct this mistakes because she student need to encourage for engage and push him to rid of negative adjective such as weakness and anthropomorphism.
Yeah, that's yeah. Okay. Thank you, Shamsa.
This is a problem, doctor,
Yes.
psychologist.
It's a psychological problem, yes. The idea of you don't want to alienate them so that they next time they will not participate because they are fearful of the prospect that you're going to stop them and scandalize them in front of everyone else. Thank you, Shamsa. This is a very good point. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Let's move on. Let's move to scenario number 5. Read it very carefully and tell me whether you're correct immediately or not. Okay. What is at stake here? Let me ask you this question. Pronunciation, when you have pronunciation, is it more related or is it closer to vocab or grammar? Pronunciation.
Vocab, of
What?
course.
To vocab,
vocab.
yes. To vocabulary. Yeah, I agree. Okay. So let's talk about this specific scenario. Aya, go ahead.
Okay, so we're talking about pronunciation. We've introduced the lexis and we've talked about the meaning. Now we're on to pronunciation. And I'm drilling the students individually, and some of them are struggling. I think in this scenario, I'm expected to correct the students to make sure that they're pronouncing the words correctly.
Because it impedes understanding,
And
right?
it's also necessary.
Yeah, I'm saying that if you don't correct, people are not going to get the message correctly.
True, and some words also have different meanings while also having similar pronunciations.
Absolutely, yes. Okay. Um, Mia, are you going to comment on the self same thing?
I think that we should correct their mistakes because we are in a vocabulary class, so correcting the pronunciation is a part of our class, and also because
It's not.
that will
Let's
be
let's agree on that. It's not part of the class, but it is necessary.
yeah,
In the scenario that we have seen, obviously those I mean, mispronouncing the words, and they are words, and this is lexis and vocabulary. Mispronouncing them impedes understanding. Stops. People are not going to understand. So, in the
yeah.
interest
So
of
correct.
meaning, which is vocab, you need to do pronunciation, right? Is this what you're
Yeah,
trying to
because
say?
yeah, I want to say that also that will be useful for them and me just to understand each other because they change the meaning of the words and no one can understand. I am the teacher. I can't understand them
Yeah. Okay.
and just
Okay. Anybody else, Basma? Because you're raising your hand. Okay, let's move to the six and scenario number 6. Read it very carefully. Okay, two things to consider. Where are we in the lesson? Which stage? And what is it that we haven't done so far? You need to think of these two things. Budur, where are we in the lesson?
It's the end of the lesson, and the
Okay.
students are practicing or the activity.
So they haven't practiced. They are on their way, I mean,
Yeah,
towards
exactly.
practicing. So what do you think? They are making massive errors and mistakes. What are you going to do, Budur?
Um, I'm actually not sure because what makes me hesitant is that there there is some errors in the target language and other areas. So
Do you have
from
time?
what
Do you have time?
yeah, but the problem is I don't have time. So I
Right?
can't. If I could if I had the time, yeah, I would correct them on the target language, and the other areas I would correct them in another class. But because I don't have time, then I'd have to
And they
maybe
haven't done something very crucial. We said that practice
yes,
is everything. If you don't practice, if they don't allow them to practice, so your lesson
and
is a failure.
I'm still practicing. So
Mm,
yes,
okay. Who
I would
agrees with
say
us? Yes, go ahead, Yabudur. Okay. Basma, are you raising your hand? Wallahi. Okay, no. Maya.
actually I agree with her because we don't have enough time. So I let them make the mistakes, and then maybe I'll change these mistakes in another class because we
Yes,
don't
and
have
of
enough
course,
time.
yeah, of course, it's going to break your heart. I mean, seeing them and hearing them make errors, and sometimes you cannot prevent yourself. But remember, you have more you have bigger aims, and the bigger aim would be for you to meet the aim, right? And also for them to practice, because practice, like I said, is everything. If you don't practice, you have done nothing. I think this is the end of it, and it's we're going to call this class actually error correction. We're going to stop on this note and with this item, and I'll give you a couple of minutes for reflection and for if you would like to share something with me. Let me first of all stop the recording because we're done for the day, and then ask all questions that you may have.